Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for All About Android is provided by CacheFly at CacheFly.com.
This episode of All About Android is brought to you by LegalZoom. It's National Start Your Business Month at LegalZoom and the best time to create the business you've always dreamed of. LegalZoom is not a law firm, but they connect you with an independent attorney. Visit LegalZoom.com and use offer code AAA in the referral box to save even more. And by HipChat. Collaborate, save time, and be more productive with your teams. HipChat is IM, video chat, plus file, code, and screen sharing all in one place. Invite your team members and get a free 30-day trial, the full version of HipChat at hipchat.com/allaboutandroid. And by Squarespace. Squarespace is the easiest way to create a beautiful website, blog, or online store for you and your ideas. Go to squarespace.com and enter offer code ABOUTAndroid at checkout to get 10% off. Hello and welcome to another episode of All About Android, episode 205, recorded on Tuesday, March 17th, 2015. We're your weekly source for the latest news, hardware, and apps for the Android faithful. I'm Jason Howell.
I'm Ron Richards.
Woohoo! Welcome back, sir.
Thank you. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Thank you.
As you're
it feels good
green.
to be green today.
Yeah, there you go. Yep.
Yeah, my daughter forced me to wear green today. It has nothing to do with Android, by the way.
But we are a green-themed show.
It's true.
I mean,
It makes
if you
sense.
look, we got green on the bar below us, and we got the green in the
green
droid,
behind us,
and the green
all around us.
Jeff Kosmicki droid's green, and so lots of green. So
Yeah, I noticed no special intro by you, Jeff Kosmicki, for St. Patrick's Day. You're going to have to step up your game.
Nothing timely.
Just kidding. You are awesome. Want to welcome back to the show somebody who has not been on in, I think, a couple of years at this point. Michael Ludden, you are now, okay, you've done a lot of things, but now you are founder of Ludden Media, among other things.
That's true.
In the past, you've been Samsung. You were first on the show when you were with HTC.
That's right.
And you actually scored us the HTC tablet,
That's
the
right.
Jetstream.
That's right.
that?
The one you never used. I remember you gave it away or something. I remember.
No,
I
we
remember
still have it
everything.
here. It's somewhere.
That was right
Believe me.
around the HTC dongle time, wasn't it?
Oh, you couldn't even give it away? Jeez, my goodness.
So HTC, then to Samsung,
Mm-hmm.
and then to Google.
Yep.
And then you were pretty much like, okay, we
when I
can't
went-
touch.
I'm out.
Yeah, that's when I went radio dark, radio
Yeah.
silence. And now, so I have my own mobile game company. We released our first game, which we'll talk about later. I'm going to shamelessly plug it during our little battleground
totally all good.
time. And I also work for Nexmo, so I'm going to be talking a little bit about an announcement that they have. And I'm also an advisor at a hardware startup called Rubik's. And we actually have one of the first live demos of the Portal phone, which is one of these crowd-funded phones. It's very interesting, flexible, and runs Android.
Very, very
excited.
intriguing. We'll talk all about that in the hardware section.
Yeah.
But it's great to be able to bring you back on.
Man.
At first, I wasn't aware that you weren't working at Google anymore.
That's
I was
how
like,
I got in.
Holy
It's like,
cow. We're going to have someone that works at Google on the show.
The
This
old
is crazy.
switcheroo.
Yeah, break
that's
the
right.
silence.
Well, I'm very happy to be back. I love it every time I come. So
Okay,
thanks for having me.
so before we move on, I have to ask you. You worked for the mothership. What how do you work for the mothership and then you're like, you know what? It's cool.
Well,
Google, I know you want me, but I'm going over there now.
Somehow I tricked some investors into actually giving me some money for the mobile game company.
Okay.
And I had been working
I
on
don't
a.
know if say tricked. Maybe a different verb.
I have. Oh yeah, that's right. This is on air. I mean, they wisely invested
There
in
you
our
go. Yeah,
very
we-
strong roadmap, which it is.
Struck a partnership.
That's right. And I just decided to make the jump while I still was in a relatively good position to do so.
Yeah,
you can
all
only
right.
do that once or twice in your life to start your own company.
Fair enough.
So I decided to do that. But I have to say, two things are universally true about Google. They have great food and really smart people everywhere you look. And I did enjoy that. I definitely hit up friends to go eat at Google anytime I can.
Right on.
For that reason, I'm collecting Google offices that I've had lunch at.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so
You're
Probably
gonna
got me
collect
beat.
the whole
yeah.
set.
Well, I mean, I'm pretty close. I mean, I've got Mountain View. I've got Seattle. I've got LA. I've got New York. I still need to get San Francisco proper,
Francisco,
the city.
okay.
I know,
Okay.
it's right there. And I got my eye on London. That's my next one.
Nice.
So, yeah. So
Isn't there one in San Bruno as well? Like
that's YouTube. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, no, actually, I have eaten there. I had an Itsit there.
Wow.
So I
I've heard the
guess,
Zurich one you got to go to. I haven't been.
Oh,
but
wow. There you go.
That's the word on the street.
By the way, previous host Eileen Rivera, who also works at YouTube Space, I was just following her Google Plus feed. And I think she went to the offices or the space in Tokyo.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
It was like, man, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
pretty cool views from there.
I talked to her as she was waiting to get on the plane before she left, and I was like, "You're going to Tokyo? That's crazy. Eat all the ramen." So
that's what happens when you work for Google. Yep. That right there. Well, we're super stoked to get you on the show. Even even if you're not with Google, you're doing awesome things, and can't wait to hear more about it. We're going to talk all about it during this show. We have a lot of things to discuss. Big changes are afoot with Google Play, and specifically their policy. Sorry, that was my Nexus 6. Yes,
replacement is here.
Replacement Nexus 6. It is wearing a case. It's a Griffin case. So if I drop it, I'm afraid to drop it. So
tell the people where they can buy it.
You can't buy it. Apparently, this is
you got hooked up.
Yes, a representative of Griffin reached out to me based on my Google Plus post with the shattered Nexus 6 screen, and she said, "Hey, we've got kind of a prototype case that we were working on. It didn't go to market, but I've got one that I can send to you." And I was like, "Okay, cool. Send it on down." And yeah, it's a pretty kind of low profile case, although it's still.
It looks like it's like basically just a shock absorber, basically. Like if you're
but it lifts the screen, which is another pretty important thing. You know, it lifts off the screen. I did get a couple of screen protectors that I haven't put on yet. I literally just got this an hour ago, so I don't even have all my apps on it and everything. But I'm happy to have the Nexus 6 back.
Let's be careful this time.
Yeah, why? Speaking from experience, Ron?
We'll talk about that later.
Anyways, Google Play Store policy changes. Big stuff there. Google's new home for hardware. Speaking of hardware, Nintendo getting into game development for smartphones. Potentially interesting, potentially a little scary. We'll talk more about that and a whole lot more. But before we get into news, should remind you, Google I/O, which is kind of like Mecca for Google fans. Registration began today.
Yes.
9 a.m. Pacific. It's going to remain open until March 19th, 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific. And I'm happy to report I'm going.
Nice.
Confirmed?
Confirmed.
As press or?
Press.
Good for you. Awesome.
Yeah, which is weird that I know this early because that never happens.
Did they do it or do you do it? Or how did or do we talk about offline or?
Talk about it offline. It wasn't through me. It wasn't through me, but it's official Twitch channel.
Yeah,
basically. Yeah. So yes. So I'm happy. I'll be there. I'll be able to report all about it on this show, and yeah, we'll see what happens from there. Are you gonna go?
I helped plan it last year, so I never want to go again because it was.
Oh, really?
I've
it soured your experience?
I've been the past few years, and no, it didn't sour my experience. It's always awesome, but I definitely got my fill of Google I/O for a lifetime.
I know that feeling.
Behind the scenes, it's just it's incredible.
Oh yeah,
it takes a lot to get an event like that to do. To have everything happen at the right time and the right way and look the right way. It's tough,
right.
So.
Yeah. No, I don't know. That's actually a good question. Maybe I'll try to go. I don't know.
Well, you should.
Yeah.
Because I want to see you there. Okay, hey, let's jump into the news.
Top of the hat to you. It's St. Patrick's Day, and get your daily dose of green by watching Android News.
Well, thank you. I kind of feel like when he's talking, he's like, ha ta ta, like doing little head bob.
Maybe I do.
I know. We'll never know because you're playing.
The combination of the old-timey newsreel voice trying to do an Irish accent, and then he gave up.
I was debating.
It's like you started, I heard it, and then you could hear the moment you bailed.
Yeah, you were like Kevin Spacey in House of Cards. You're like, I think I'm just going to stop the accent for some random reason right now.
Good job, Bryan. Good job.
Well, it starts to bleed into other accents, and it just gets ugly.
Yeah, that's if I try and do any accent, that's about what happens. All right, so Google Play. Let's talk about this. They today announced a new policy for Google Play, effective actually starting a few months ago. So we didn't even notice that this change took place. App submissions are now being analyzed by staff prior to their public offering on the site. Up until now, Google, has been known for just kind of allowing developers to push new apps to the site, practically without any overview by Google. Much of the review now is automated, looking for glaring policy breakers, things like copyright infringement, sexual content, that kind of stuff, and then kind of managed with actual eyeballs after the fact if it's needed. Google still says submissions are accepted usually within a few hours, so this isn't really affecting clearance times, which is actually kind of impressive.
Yeah, fascinating. Yeah. You think about the people, the number of apps probably submitted per hour and how many have to be looked at. How keep that turnaround time. Yeah.
I mean, which points to the fact that most of this has to be automated. Yeah. I mean, it just has to be for the large majority of it.
Developing and posting apps to Google Play was always just so easy, and I'm not surprised that this happened. I'll just say that, but I'm a little bit sad because
they're going era, kind of.
More in the direction of the iTunes, the App Store, and that's a terrible experience for developers.
Yes,
I can tell you from personal experience.
Right, terrible for developers. Is it better for users?
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah. It's very curated. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be the direct result to the volume problem. You know, where how many apps are there in the App Store now currently, and how many are dead, how many are duplicative, how many are those, that kind of thing. And so, are they getting to the point now where, like, all right, we need to have a little more of a discerning eye of what gets in?
Yeah.
And you know, is it that a piece of it, or is it just more natural evolution?
To be honest, that's another reason I actually wanted to jump into the mobile app space when I did, because I know that the door is slowly closing. It's been the Wild West where you can just have an amazing worldwide distribution platform and give them 30% and host it wherever you want. And slowly it's going to be like, well, let's add some gates here. Let's make sure that the content is quality, not just anybody can jump in. So I felt like foot indoor is good.
Right.
Establish yourself, get some apps in there, and then they're more likely to hopefully work with you in the future.
Yeah. Sure. Google also announced more transparency to developers for why their app is suspended or rejected. And, you know, we've heard a lot of stories very recently, and developers have been kind of up in arms about this. Meizu, Reddit Sync, these very popular apps that had a large user base that suddenly the listing's gone. And the developer's like, what happened? Google's saying, well, you're breaking a rule. But Google didn't really go into much detail as far as what that was, leaving the developer kind of up the creek trying to figure it out. And that's a hard thing. That's a hard thing to recover from.
Just your entire business offline overnight.
Yeah, can you even imagine? That's your livelihood, and goodbye. You know, and you don't know why. Anyways, they promised to be more transparent about that, and as well as provide recommendations for how to fix and resubmit for minor violations. And then also announced an age-based rating system similar to the ESRB rating system in the US for games and apps. And that just kind of, you know, Google lately has been very kid-focused. I think in general, you know, YouTube Kids and restricted profiles on Android and stuff like this. So they're kind of, their mind is there right now. And hey, I have kids. I think that's a good thing. Yeah. So cool stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I did see a lot of developers online that were kind of like, I don't know what, you know, how much upside this has. And as a developer, this is potentially kind of a big pain in the butt.
Well, and it's funny because I think this is an interesting kind of juxtaposition to, there was an article I posted on Google Plus last week. I don't know if you saw it or not. The developer wrote on Medium, and Bryan, I put it in the chat. You can check it out. Basically comparing 10 things the Google Play Store does better than the iOS Store. And, you know, yes, it's a pro Google Play kind of article, but it was a really, really interesting analysis from a developer point of view as to why the Google Play Store is superior to the iOS Store, being able to, you know, edit your screenshots and show more screenshots and rearrange them and edit your descriptions without having to go through approval and all that sort of stuff. And so, you know, right now from a developer standpoint, if Google Play is superior and iOS is seen as to be the annoying thing, but iOS is more customer friendly, it seems like this is a seesaw that which way are you going to balance, you know, and can Google Play navigate it to be developer positive and become user positive?
So Fantasy Bubble Quest makes more money on iOS than Android, and I think in general people are still more habituated to paying for things on iOS, which hurts me as a longtime Android fan to discover this when I jumped into this space. But I can tell you the experience is much better from a developer console perspective. It's much less fragmented. You go into iOS, I mean, it's crazy the hoops you have to jump through. At some point early on in the process, and any of you guys will know this if you develop your own apps and upload them, you have to like work with a particular law firm in order to receive a special number, which is called a dunce number. And yeah, it's like all of these extra hoops just to even get there. And then when you get there, there's like the iOS developer, and then there's iTunes Connect. The only thing that I could say that that the App Store has a little better is the analytics actually seem to be a little bit easier to access in terms of just pure volume and sales numbers
on iOS.
On iOS,
but that's recently because they just overhauled iTunes Connect and all stuff like that, and as like 6 months ago, it was a nightmare. It was old. It was archaic. It was like, it was like 2007 design. Like it was. You could tell that it kind of reminds me like it seems like not every job, but a lot of jobs I've worked at. One of the first things I do is work on a content management system. Yeah. And the last thing you work on a content management system is the interface that people use it behind the scenes on.
Yeah, right.
Right?
It's so true.
And I feel like Apple took that approach with iTunes Connect and like, it doesn't have to, it just has to work. It just has to do it. And Google Play did the same thing, but Google Play improved it. But then Apple has caught up as well too. It's interesting to see them, kind of catch up to each other in these different categories. So.
Yeah. I'll say this, the thing that annoyed me the most and still annoys me the most is that they require you to upload pretty much any file from Safari in OS 10, which is like, give me a freaking break. Sorry.
Unless they control the playground.
That's true.
Exactly. All right. I think it's the theme park aspect. Well, yeah, I'm
excited about this. When I saw this article, I was like, oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's really interesting. No, but so basically, some development news as we're staying on the Google and Android developer tip. Google's plan for Google Now appears to open up access for the service to third-party developers by opening up the Google Now API. In a similar way, it's happened for people currently working within their pilot program. Apps like Pandora, Airbnb, Duolingo, Lyft, Shazam, and some others. If a user had multiple apps with similar data installed that tied into Google Now would analyze the user's habits and present only the data that matches that usage. This would avoid duplicate and competing data being fed to the user. And what was interesting is this kind of comes out of an effort around, and I'm going to butcher the name, but the Director of Product Management for Google Now, Aparna Shenapradgada. So I'll just say the Director of Product Management.
Right.
In an effort to start expanding Google Now and look at the different use cases and look at how, as the app is maturing, how they can open up to third-party developers and make it even smarter, and what things in the real world can it interface with. And the example that Panagata said is using a visit to Disneyland inspired her to get the team working on future support for theme park queue ride times, which is basically how long is the wait for Space Mountain. There are several apps that do this already, but if Google knows I'm in Disneyland and Google knows I'm probably gonna walk by Space Mountain, it could just tell you the wait time is 30 minutes and okay, great, let's go now, or as opposed to later on. That's the kind of
integration. And that's just an example.
That's just an example.
That's not like this is why everyone should get excited about it. Theme park rides. Right. But that's just one example of the direction.
And any app or every app in the world has to do is turn over all their data to Google. So that's great. It's so simple.
Sure.
Yeah.
No big deal. That's a really good point.
Well, it's the API. It's an interface.
No, it's true. It's true. Yeah.
But I mean, it's funny because actually, I mean, no joke. I totally forgot about this, and it totally makes sense. My sister texted me today. Now, my sister, I have her on a HTC One, I think the M7 or the M8. Loves it, whatever. She texted me. I'm going to read this verbatim. My phone just told me how many minutes it'll take me to drive home from work on its own. WTF, totally freaked me out. First, how does it know where I live? Second, how does it know I'm getting ready to go home? Third, how does it know I'm at work? I'm scared, Ronald. And so then I explained.
Meanwhile, we're going, isn't that awesome?
Yeah.
That's like the best thing in the world.
So I explained to her that it knows where you are. It knows in your home. It knows in your work. It's noting when you leave from work to go home, and then it's being proactive to suggest you the traffic time. And she just wrote back, creepy.
Yeah.
So,
well,
should tell her it's not a person. That might put her at ease a little bit.
Yeah, maybe. But I think it's interesting to see that's the. By the way, that's the waterfall effect. Like it took that long for Google Now to get to a regular person.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think
it's an interesting kind of perspective, though.
Yeah.
When you see that, because yes, I hear that. I'm like, yeah, that's why Google Now is so great. Yep. But when you're not used to just giving away your data in that regard and used to the fact that Google knows the stuff anyway.
Giving away your data. Well, it's using your data. I think. I mean, that's the thing.
I think that's how it's misinterpreted.
Yes, exactly.
Though.
Yeah.
It's that it's making or that it's making assumptions or it knows these things and I didn't want it to know these things.
Well, the inherent question: how does it know I'm at work? It's like, How does it know it? You've got it's in your pocket. It's got a thing that tells the satellite where you are. Like,
but
yes,
why is it scanning it to figure out that what this place is work?
Yeah.
So
That's what creeps me out.
I'm a big fan of security through obscurity. I just believe that nobody cares enough to actually take a look at this data, and I hope that remains true.
That's my point too. Is like nothing I have in my data in my graph is of interest to anyone.
I really hope so. But the other piece is like I'm actually more annoyed by the notifications that I constantly get that I actually don't need because I check things myself. Like when my flight's going to leave, and then it'll serve me a notification, which I just swipe away, and that's an extra thing that I have to do. But I'm kind of weird. Do you know what a zero inboxer is?
Are you a zero inboxer? Well, inbox zero, but yeah, I flipped the name.
Okay, is that what it is?
Yeah,
inbox zero.
Inbox zero.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So I have no unread emails in my inbox, and if I do, it drives me nuts until I don't. And so I just categorize them all or respond to them all, and that keeps me on my toes.
Does that mean your inbox is filled with read emails?
It does. Yes. They're all
but if
red.
they're red, then they're done.
If they're red, then they're done in my mind.
Okay.
And so in keeping with that, that's one of the reasons I love Android. It's so much more customizable than iOS. I don't like doing things a particularly prescribed way, and I feel like Google Now is a little intrusive to me still because it's telling me, it's giving me reminders that I'm not asking it to give me, and I'm not configuring it. It's just like automating my life without my permission or my desire.
Well, but if you opt in and say yes, I'm in, then you've given it permission.
And we talked about that last week when we were talking about Google Now with Gina, where I searched for something related to Star Wars, and then for the past week I've been getting every article on Star Wars Episode 7, whether I want it or not. And although I am saying yes, keep me into this and that sort of thing, but like when I go to Google Now, it's like the first thing, like you must read this, where it's like
dial it back.
Yeah,
these guys are all saying you can disable them.
Yeah,
yeah, you can.
It's
I mean,
true.
if
It's
it's popping up a certain thing that you don't want, just tap the little dots, and you can say no more of this, and it's smart enough to scale that back.
What mail client are you using?
Gmail.
Check out Mailbox.
Mailbox?
If you like Inbox Zero, check out Mailbox.
Okay.
Trust me.
All right.
So.
Or Inbox.
Or Inbox, yeah. Well, but yeah, Inbox is cool, but I like Mailbox. I don't know.
And just for the record, I don't hate Google Now. I just want it to get to a place where it's actually useful to me because right now it's serving me redundant information that I'm finding myself.
No, I agree. I totally agree. I mean, I think that's my biggest complaint about it as well too, is that it gives me information that a lot of times I already know or I've already seen or I don't need.
Yeah.
And
sure.
There's been the number of times where it's hit a home run have been less compared to the number of times that it's been like, all right, enough.
Yeah.
Right.
But I think that's getting better.
Let's see here. Android 5.1. I think it was Android Police that discovered this, or maybe it was Pocketables. Anyways, Android 5.1 shows hints of a new system app called Google Connectivity Services. Through a little bit of sleuthing, it turns out that app actually activates a screen that reads Google VPN with some extra information around that VPN service, though running the VPN service didn't actually do anything. So there's Google Connectivity Services up at the top there. They did some kind of special stuff and ended up triggering kind of a help screen all about Google VPN. I think that's the next screenshot. But, we could be looking at an I/O reveal. Could be part of this kind of elusive MVNO service that Google
mesh network that I'm super excited about.
Yeah, I'm excited about that too, actually. Especially now that I got my Nexus 6 in time. So if the rumors are true and it ends up being
Nexus
narrowly offered to Nexus 6 owners, that would mean that I could qualify. And I'll do it. I'll do it in a heartbeat. So I don't know, the Google VPN, I suppose that makes sense.
Yeah. Makes sense, right? Just another. It makes no less sense than a hotspot or like any of the services that you would expect, right?
Sure.
I guess, but like I want a virtual private network that makes me completely anonymous, and I don't ever trust that with Google.
Yeah, that's a really good
right.
point,
I mean, that defeats the purpose to me just by the name, but I don't know anything about it, obviously.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah. The private is probably the questionable word.
Yeah, exactly.
How private is it? Yeah. So, all right. But lastly, I got to tell you, the next big thing in the world of technology that I'm really excited about, USB-C.
So you're really excited about it.
I'm pro USB-C.
Suddenly everybody's really excited about USB-C.
I didn't know it existed until the Apple annouement.
See, that's what I mean. Suddenly, this is like the Apple effect.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's not the Apple effect. It's just that I really like universal connectors.
Sure.
And I was a big fan of USB-A, which is the one that we're so used to, which I can never get in right the first time.
Yeah.
I feel a little bad for USB-B. I feel like USB-B got passed over probably because of the redundant B That's the smaller squarish one, you know.
Okay.
But yeah, so after Apple announced the new MacBook would feature a USB-C port, and then very quietly the new Pixel that was announced has two, I believe. Yep. Google's strongly hinting now that the next Nexus phone, whatever it will sport a USB-C adapter or port on the
and
bottom
that Android
as well.
devices.
That's awesome.
This is plural.
Yeah.
So.
It's pretty cool.
Sure.
I don't see a downside. The only thing, so I love the idea that you can power it. You can output to a screen. You can do data transfer. You can have it, you know, have a converter for internet, like anything, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But I was reading up on it, and apparently it's not all going to be implemented the same across all devices. So it's that way.
Awesome.
Yeah, I know, right?
Awesome.
So they can not make it do power and not enable it to carry a data connection, or not enable it for data transfers and have it only be power.
So it's universal in that it plugs into the port.
Yes.
But what it actually does once you do it, that is,
Yeah. So I hope everybody implements it with all that.
Right. To be truly universal.
Yeah.
And then the other concern, while I actually haven't seen it in person, but it's got to be bigger. Is there a micro USB-C adapter? Is there a phone size version?
Somebody in the chat room saying there is. I don't know if.
Yeah, is it? I don't know. I mean,
I hope so.
I would think so, because if it's going to be on the next Nexus phone, unless the next Nexus phone is going to be another 6, I mean,
as long as it's going to be a 6 point. It's going to be a 7.
It's going to be 7. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
As long as it's reversible.
Yeah.
That's the key for me. That's a big feature, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, from what I could tell just by looking at it, it didn't look very big in and of itself.
But it looked more looked like the A than a micro.
Yeah, I mean,
you know.
Maybe, I don't know if you can take this shot, Brian. I mean, this is definitely the micro slot, which is pretty darn small. Yeah. I would guess, just totally guessing out of nowhere, that it's more, you know, that it's almost the size of this. Yeah. This opening that
I need to see it in person.
And that I think is fine if it's reversible, especially you know, for most mobile devices. Anyways.
Apparently, the version that's being implemented, and this is hilarious to me, is USB 3.0, which was retroactively renamed USB 3.1 Type 1. Oh. So it's actually not the 10 gigabit. Yeah. It's 5. So that's the maximum data transfer speed. And that's about all the trivia I know about this. There we go.
Fascinating.
Perfect. More than I knew. So I would toss to an email, but you know what, folks? We didn't really get a whole lot of emails this week. I don't know. Do you guys love us?
We have been reading them we've been cutting them, because when we were running long,
I know,
that's why.
We've been running long a lot.
So we need to remind everybody that you can email us at AAA
at twit.tv. We did get a couple of emails. The hard part is sometimes we get emails that are hyper specific. Yeah. And you know, or it's like tech, or it's tech support. And if it's a really broad problem, tech support, or if it's one that, you know, we can actually solve, because that's the other part, is like, am I going to spend a half an hour trying to figure this out and realize that I have no good solution for you? Some of those are kind of hard. But I will point you also to the All About Android community. We've actually had a couple of really great posts today. One by a guy that we had on the show many times in the email section, Marlon, the guy from Trinidad, Thompson, you know, was in the All About Android community, just kind of talking about the changes to the Play Store agreements and everything. A lot of the points that we already talked about, but there's just great discussion in there, and sometimes I'll go in there and I'll pull those for the show as well. But point being, even if we're not getting it in email, you know, we're getting a lot of great conversation from our fans in our community. So go to Google+, search for All About Android, the community, and you know, join in. Got a lot of fans of the show that are just answering each other's questions. That's what I love about the community so much.
That's so cool.
And I check in on that daily. So there we go. Okay. Let's thank our first sponsor of today's episode. That'll be LegalZoom. I love LegalZoom. I used LegalZoom 5 years ago when we had our first kid, before I even worked at Twit, actually. If you're thinking about starting a business, or, you know, what I did, I got a living will and testament, but it's perfect for starting a business. Now is the time. It's National Start Your Business Month at LegalZoom.com. It's never been easier to start building your future. LegalZoom provides the support that you need. For more than 10 years, they've helped 1 million business owners just like you. If you need advice for your business, no problem. LegalZoom's not a law firm, but they've built a network of trusted attorneys to provide the guidance that you're going to need for your specific situation. Here's the best part. During National Start Your Business Month, LegalZoom is offering an attorney consultation for only $50. If you're unsure about the best way to start, or if you already run a business and you need some advice, that's what this offer is for. It's for you. to get the information that you need. Get legal advice for your business, no further obligation for a low one-time cost. So go to LegalZoom.com today. You can find out more by visiting the site and see all of the services that they provide. There's a ton of services, a ton of ways that they can help you both with your business and your personal life, your family. Attorney consultations are provided by independent attorneys. When you go through the site, you'll find it there. Available in most states. Get the legal help you need for your business at LegalZoom.com and enter offer code AAA in the referral box to save even more. That's LegalZoom.com. Use the promo code AAA. Make sure to do that. Legal help is here. Thank you, LegalZoom, for your support of All About Android and for my living will and testament. There we go.
I kind of wish you would have done that in an Irish accent. I just.
I'm not sure the LegalZoom wanted me to do that in an Irish accent. But yeah, maybe I'll work on that
Next
for
time.
a year from
Next
now.
time. Next year. You got a year to work on it.
No, 7 years from now when actually, I don't know when All About Android is going to happen to fall on St. Patrick's Day.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
It's 11 years, isn't it?
Time.
Something like that. Okay, we got a lot of time for me to work on this accent.
We can fix it in post. We can fix it in post, right?
All right, there needs to be an app for that. That's your next app to work on. All right, let's take a look at some hardware.
There's a little more green for you.
Hey, top of the morning to you, Android. Thanks. Turns out the Nexus 6, I just got it, although I haven't really experienced much of a speed issue with it since I got it back. I'm trying to remember. It seems like years ago when I had an operating Nexus 6 that didn't have a cracked screen. A lot of people complain about the Nexus 6 having kind of slowdowns, performance issues, things like that. And I definitely noticed that from time to time. Wasn't sure what it was attributed to. Apparently, the move to Android 5.1 is fixing that for a lot of people. Franco Francisco, who is a previous guest on this show and the creator of the Franco kernel, has been on Google Plus talking all about it. He's been taking a look. Basically, he saw that the Snapdragon 805 processor on the device before the update was being overmanaged and basically not allowing all the cores to kind of do what they do best. With the update, the chipset now runs in full quad-core mode, and Google has disabled a boost mode that had kind of managed the speed of the CPU and all this kind of stuff, which you would think would help things. But basically what it ended up doing was affecting the battery in a negative way, potentially. So you might also see a positive battery change as a result. So I'm excited.
I have a question because I had heard that because the Nexus 6 was force encrypting everything.
Yeah, right.
That was lowering the performance.
I'd heard that too, and I'm not sure if that's changed. I was kind of going through his comments on the Google Plus post, and I think he said in there that software encryption is still happening.
Apparently, it's optional now. I think that was 5.1.
No. There was news that Google was making it optional. It was kind of like a silent thing on new devices.
Oh, I see.
How do I find that?
It's somewhere in a menu in settings.
Yeah, I'm wondering if I can.
I bet you it's in the settings.
Because I literally just set this up.
Just check your settings.
Security, I'm imagining.
Yeah, right.
Encrypt phone encrypted, so it's encrypted by default.
Can you unencrypt it? I mean, it'll wipe it, but I'm just curious if you hit it with your current version.
Nothing.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
Interesting.
There's got to be a way to unencrypt it. No?
You actually can't with just 5.0. I know that, but I don't know.
Well, this is still 5.0. Okay. So I think part of this, part of the change will happen potentially when I move to 5.1. I wonder if I could unencrypt, but
I actually,
keep it
when I got my Nexus 6, I ran a script on first boot that unencrypted it. Because I did that because I didn't want like a gimped phone. So I was running it unencrypted, and it was super fast with 5.0.
Interesting.
Okay. Well, there we go. So good information there if you're a Nexus 6 owner.
And that's an example of the system update, the point update, fixing things that you don't know about. You know, like it might not be adding a feature, but it's making things work better on
I've seen so many little pieces here and there since 5.1 has rolled out. There was like the main list of features that we talked about. And then there's all these little things. Oh, it also happens to do that.
Exactly.
In aggregate, I guess it's a big deal.
Yeah.
So.
Well, speaking of the Nexus 6, if you wanted to pick one up to be like Jason, you shouldn't go looking in the Play Store anymore, as Google has moved all of its hardware into a new Google-specific hardware store, simply called the Google Store.
Hey, that makes sense.
So they've got the Nexus 6, they've got the Nexus 9, they've got the Nexus Player, they've got a whole selection of Android wear.
The Nexus Q. Oh, wait,
yeah,
that's,
no, I still have mine.
Oh, that's in their collectibles.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
yes.
Yeah.
They've got Chromecast, they've got the new Chromebook Pixel. So all the hardware stuff, it's all under one roof now. What you won't find, unfortunately to my dismay, is the Nexus 5.
Why would you want to find a Nexus
Well,
5?
earlier this year, Google said that they were gonna phase out the Nexus 5 by the end of Q1, and here we are. It's the end of Q1, and sure enough, this was confirmed on Thursday, and then on Saturday,
Oh, no.
this happened. And
I'm
so,
having flashbacks.
And so I don't know if it's karma for making fun of Jason and his shattered phone or what, but yeah.
And that looks bad. Doesn't look as bad as mine.
This is what happens when you lean up against a granite countertop with the wrong angle. Yeah, so.
Oh man, leaning up against something. That's just something you don't think about.
And I had keys in my pocket. It was a kind of compound fracture. Yeah, not so good.
That's
But lucky for me, I found some third-party person selling them on Amazon, and I should have a new Nexus 5 tomorrow. But it's probably going to be my last Nexus 5, and it's my favorite phone I've ever owned.
Why have you stuck with the Nexus 5? You didn't get the M8. You're not interested in M9.
When I like something, I stick to it. I go with it.
Yeah.
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 Battery complaints at all with the Nexus 5?
I've never had battery complaints with the Nexus 5. I've always had a problem. And I thought about going to the 6. I thought about, let me stay current, but I just can't do that big.
It's giant.
I just can't do it. It's enormous.
It was even too big for me, and I like the Note 4, which is my current driver.
Yeah, it's been an interesting kind of mental thing that I've gone through in the past few months. Had the Nexus 6, was super amped about it, and just like, oh, it's the best thing in the world. Drop it. It shatters. I'm forced to go back to, another device, which in my case was the OnePlus One and the Nexus 5. I ended up back on the Nexus 5, which was great to go back to. And then right there toward the end again, I started kind of being like, you know what? I need to move on. I need to move on. Battery complaints, heating, the device heating when I'm merely navigating and listening to music, and it just getting super duper warm and just getting all kind of jittery and stuff. So Nexus 6 over here. And this is the Note 4.
Look at that. Look at how much bigger that is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Man.
It's just too big. Just too much for me.
Too big for me.
Yeah. So
but that's not it from Google and hardware. They actually opened a brick and mortar store in London.
Yeah.
Of all places.
Okay. So now there's a Google store.
So if you're in London, you can go find the newly opened Google shop, which is inside Curry's PC World.
There is one here. It's just on the Google campus.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But in addition to hardware sales, they've got tutorials and demos of products and how to use them. Very Apple Store-esque, but only in London. So there you go. And if you can't go there, if you're not in London or don't have a trip planned to London, you can download an app and take a virtual tour using Cardboard, which is cool.
Yeah, I'm trying to load it up right now. Oh. Where
your battery's low.
Is that Johnny Ives? Sorry.
It's not. Hey, give me. Oh, I see. It's materializing before your eyes.
Oh.
So yeah, there's a way to.
That's cool.
Take a tour. It's hard to show because it's.
This is great television.
I know it's cardboard app. If I go like this, you're gonna see the floor.
This is the problem with demoing VR.
I know. It just doesn't work, does it? Anyways, it's a way to kind of virtually tour, and there's actually a guide that's standing right there, like talking to you and everything.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, kind of neat.
But this begs the question: is this the prototype Google Store, and will we see Google stores opening up similar to Apple and Microsoft stores? Because yes, there are Microsoft stores.
Yeah, and they're always next to Apple stores.
Yeah, well, there's the one in San Francisco's in the mall.
I mean, at one point, it would have been hard to do that because Google didn't really have a whole lot of hardware, anything.
But now they do.
Now they have a lot. It's pretty sizable. It's pretty considerable. I don't know. I don't see why it would be very crazy to think that they'd have some sort of a retail presence. Maybe not as large as Apple Store.
Yeah, I mean, maybe in large cities, but not as like a driver of the business. I wouldn't imagine they would want to do that.
Well, their business is so big. I can't imagine it being, like if you look at what Apple's done with the retail space and made it such a huge portion of their business, you wonder, I'm sure sure Apple will be fine without the stores, but the stores have helped that ridiculous growth.
Yeah.
Is it ego? Is it just Google wanting to, like strut their stuff and say, look at what we got? And you put a store in San Francisco, put a store in New York, put a store in Chicago.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it's to change the perception about Google that it's just, it's just there to serve you ads and search, right?
Yeah.
No, look what we have. Like, here's all our stuff. Control the message a little bit of a marketing or a demo station almost.
I don't feel like when they say our prototype store, codenamed whatever, like this feels like this is like the beginning.
Yeah, it could be. Could be.
And instead of like a one-off pop-up thing. I don't know.
Right.
We'll see.
And then if you have an Android device and you want to switch over to an iPhone, I know there's some of you out there.
Boo.
Apple has a trade-in plan for that, or so Mark Gurman of 9 to 5 Max sources say. Apple Store employees will be the ones to actually determine the price offered for your Android device for the Switch. So, are you tempted? Are you tempted, huh? What do you think?
You can.
Oh, very nice.
And you can already do this with I don't know who the sponsor of the day is, but Gazelle.
Oh
and that
yeah,
kind of thing.
Gazelle.
Yeah.
No, totally. There are ways to do this. Interesting that Apple's kind of taking it into their own hands.
Yeah. I'm surprised they didn't do this earlier, actually.
Yeah.
Given Steve Jobs' desire to wipe Android from the face of the earth, right? I mean,
he probably didn't even want to touch,
Yeah.
have any sort of contact with an Android.
Acknowledge
Yeah,
it. Yeah,
that's
you don't even acknowledge it. Right?
Get this out of my face.
yes. They're not a competitor.
Yeah. So let's take a few minutes and talk about something interesting and different and new. You are
An advisor.
Advising for Portal. Is it Arubix?
Arubix is the name of the company. Portal is the name of the product. It's a flexible smartphone. And I actually have a prototype here.
So it's a flexible. Wait, let's back up here. It's a flexible smartphone.
So it's not just a curved screen.
It's not curved.
Just
right. So here's
there you go. That's the website.
It's a smartphone that can bend.
It's true. It's true. And that is what.
This is science fiction.
No, it's really not. It's really not. And it's kind of surprising that this hasn't happened already. I haven't heard of many other projects that are trying to do this, but it's not science fiction at all. It's absolutely possible. And in fact, the whole reason I brought this, it's not very pretty, is to prove that it is possible. It was very interesting to me, and this is one of the reasons I wanted to get involved. They didn't really have anybody.
Where is your over the shoulder? Is it over
It's
there?
on the right side.
It's on that.
Oh, it's on
side.
there it is. They're trying to be lefty friendly, I guess. So this is the phone. It's a screen. It's got unspecified processor inside. We can't talk about that yet, but it bends. You can see it bending, right? I can bend it in various different ways. This is something that apparently I can say. It has a 13,000 milliamp battery, which is crazy.
What?
Yeah, that's real. It's in there.
Oh my
I've seen it.
How? Where does it hide?
Some kind of special sauce going on.
Okay.
So this
That's
is the
crazy,
screen.
dude.
You can bend it.
How is it working?
Oh my
You're
gosh,
bending
it's got
it.
Android and it's bending, and that's pretty much the extent of it won't shatter. It won't shatter on you. So that's it, really. It's a real thing. This is actually the first live demo I think that's ever happened. Yes, it is a very ugly white chassis.
Well, it's a development. I mean, it's
super alpha, super alpha, proof of concept, but it works, and it has Android running on it, and it's got a touch sensor, and it's got Wi-Fi, and a giant battery.
Now, this was funded at least partially to start, right?
Yeah, there you go. There's the canned controlled demo, which is real as well.
That looks like Ron's phone.
No, that's an iPhone.
Yeah, well,
She's talking about how
the
her
cracks
iPhone
look very similar.
This is kind of a demo, I guess, UI that we've talked about. It's going to look a little different than this, but this was kind of the idea was people will be wearing this. So what's the UI?
Like on the arm. Yeah.
It's meant to be able to be curved and slid into one of these arm cradles. And so what does the UI look like? If you have like a long sleeve shirt and it's just coming up at the edge, like what would be an intelligent UI so that you could actually do things with it while you have like a sleeve covering up part of it? So
Like
that
a data pad.
Yeah, like the future.
This is like that's like out of Star Wars, man.
Yeah,
this
it's pretty sweet.
Yeah,
And I have to imagine this is like if you can make it work with a phone, then you can make it work in smaller form factors potentially. Suddenly you've got a wearable that isn't just a watch with this huge base. And also, might I add, if that's how big is the battery?
So 13,000 milliamp.
So if it's a 13,000 milliamp battery, and this thing, if you don't mind me just picking up for
I
a
wasn't
second,
sure if we were allowed to touch
is
it.
super thin, super light.
Yeah, you can touch it. Don't power the screen.
I mean,
on
I don't understand how there's a 13,000 milliamp. I don't understand.
That is not right.
It's pre-production.
weird.
You know, it doesn't have all of the bells and whistles in it, so I can't promise it'll be that light.
But still, even then, like, wow.
It's
pretty
just kind of crazy to think that there's that much battery in there. Like, you know, one of the big complaints on wearables right now is that the battery life is not as good as a normal watch. You know, it doesn't last for days. Pebble's able to pull this off, but, you know, they're
I think I can
scaling
say
back on other things to do that.
Part of the way that they squeezed it in is that it's lithium polymer, not lithium ion, so it's able to be a little thinner. And it's also kind of packeted in a way.
Okay.
It's a little bit, I guess, patent pending, but yeah, it's all in there. It's true.
Wow.
Maybe you know this, maybe you don't. Lithium ion versus lithium polymer.
Yeah.
Why aren't more manufacturers using lithium polymer then?
Well, Apple
It
is.
seems like the density factor is a big upside.
Yeah, I think I honestly don't know why lithium ion is used by more manufacturers. I guess it's a newer technology. I know that Apple uses lithium polymer, and the reason that they did is so that they could cram it how they wanted inside the chassis.
Okay.
So it's a little more flexible, and that's why a Rubix is using it. But in terms of why lithium ion is more used, it's a good question for the chat room. I don't actually know.
Yeah.
Established, maybe.
I'm a
I don't know
software
anything
guy.
about battery stuff.
Yeah, neither do I, but I know that battery in the portable, you know, smartphone and you know, portable electronics
Battery life
world,
is-
the battery is it. Like
That's
if
the
your
issue.
battery is suffering, then you're going to have a bad experience with that device.
So the
And
plan is to launch this in the
that's
next
just
year,
crazy.
and to launch it with one of the latest chipsets. I guess I don't really have a call to action, but if people want to go to arubix.com and check it out.
Okay, so then, and I'll spell that for you, ARUBIXS.com. This particular product is called Portal, and yeah, it was crowdfunded. 47 of $50,000 was generated on Indiegogo.
And
I
you
imagine
know-
that was to kind of kick things off. And
Yeah, and you know what's crazy about that is there was like a takedown request that came from some patent troll in Germany. And so it was down for 10 days in the middle of the campaign.
Oh, wow.
And a lawyer had to be contacted and told to, like, you know, prove that it's a real thing. And then it went back up. But by that point, it was almost over. So what was my point with that? Yeah. So that happened in the middle of the campaign.
well, I mean,
think it
yeah,
would've even
that's so unfortunate because guaranteed that affected
Yeah.
the potential pull on something.
But there's
like
still,
this.
like, you know,
still that's
Brandon, the CEO of the company, tells me that he gets like 7 to 12 requests for the phone every day, just direct email to the email. So there's a lot of excitement around it.
seems-
It's just a matter of getting it out there.
It just
And-
really seems like a direct correlation to the kind of the wearable space right now, and has a lot of potential in that regard.
Yeah, that's right.
For being that flexible
That's right.
and being able to, yeah,
As far
a
as
lot
the
of flexibility with
lithium
that.
ion
Literally.
versus lithium polymer.
Ooh, do tell.
Lithium polymer, while it's sleeker and thinner and easier to be,
Lighter,
kind of
too,
and lighter,
right?
lithium ion batteries have a higher energy density and cost less to manufacture.
There you go.
And so now this was as of a couple of years ago. There might have been advancements in lithium polymer that have to catch up to bridge that gap, but that's kind of why you see more lithium ion than lithium polymer.
Yep.
But lithium polymer has that specific use case of flexibility and thinner and you know, kind of easier to get into a smaller place like that. So
Wow, that's very interesting.
yeah, fascinating stuff.
Well,
That's
cool.
so cool. That's the coolest thing I've seen all day. So
It's cool.
Definitely
that's why I'm
different.
involved with it. It's pretty cool. And I think what's also interesting is doing a hardware startup. Not a lot of people are thinking in terms of that, right? And the
being a little bit
smartphone
more
business is litigated to death, so it's really hard to actually do a startup and build a phone. But it's like it's something that's really exciting.
and
that
it's
come
also
out of left field.
It's something that we talk about a lot recently, which is like, where is the innovation coming from?
Yeah.
You know, like the form factor has been somewhat decided.
That's
we
right.
know that it's a rectangle and does so. Going back to Samsung and the Edge, you know, like you make the curved and make that part of the display, and this you make a bendable, flexible display. Like, you're going to start seeing those changes and unique traits happen on the hardware. So, you know, because we gotta
Differentiate.
keep developing somehow. You know. So.
And I think iteration is like insurance for big companies, right? I mean, they can't afford to just completely redo something and throw something totally random out there. It has to also be compatible with what's already out there. Like even the Galaxy Note 4 Edge, right? It had an extra edge, but it still ran Android apps and was pretty traditional in other ways. And they were kind of experimenting with that, and then they extended that with the Galaxy S6. So it's kind of iteration, right? Not really thinking outside the box. And they can't afford to like rethink their entire product line because margins are so important to sustaining their business. So it's little companies like potentially a Rubix or somebody else that can maybe do something that big companies are, not that they're not able to, but that they're not willing to, right? A little more risky.
Yeah. Take it from this guy he knows. He worked at Samsung and HTC, and you're like a hardware guy.
Yeah. I've always been like the software side of hardware companies.
Yes,
which is
yes,
exactly. Eating honey and locusts in the desert and crying out and being like, no, make it better.
Right on. Well, thanks for bringing that on and giving us such an early glimpse at it. That's really cool stuff. I've never seen anything like it in person, so that's awesome. Let's take another break. Thank another sponsor of this episode. That'd be HipChat. How is your team communicating? HipChat is awesome. I tell you, we're using it all the time here at Twit. We're communicating all the time with HipChat. If you're like us before HipChat, you're using a variety of email, IM, texting, cloud storage, document sharing apps. HipChat actually puts everything in one place. It unites it. It's designed specifically for your business. It's IM, it's video chat, document sharing, screen sharing, system updates, code sharing, and it's all integrated in one platform. And it's simple. Email, we all know email's slow. Meetings get sidetracked. Regular IM doesn't always work well for large groups. It works, great for one-on-one, but for groups it can be a challenge. HipChat keeps your team in sync, and it works from any device, no matter where you are. Best part, HipChat integrates with the top developer tools, so GitHub, Jira, Zendesk. There's 57 services that HipChat plays nice with, so you can check that all out on their site. HipChat brings your entire project and team communications together, and it's easy to set up. It's fun to use, makes your team super productive. Like I say, here at Twit, we're using it more and more. On the producer side, we have HipChat rooms that we're using to produce some of our shows here, and it's just nice to get everybody on the same page and have this kind of one platform that unites us through all our work. And by the way, I use a Chromebook Pixel, and I use HipChat even on the Chromebook Pixel through the web app, so that's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
So here's what you can do. Get your team on the same page in seconds. There's actually a freemium version that you can use. It's free forever, so you can check it out and use the free version for however long you want. But for the next 30 days, you'll get the full version of HipChat, which includes bonus features of video and screen sharing. And yeah, you can check out HipChat for free. No credit card required. Just visit hipchat.com/allaboutandroid. You sign up, click on Start Chatting, then invite a few team members and try it free for 30 days. And, by the way, for the first 100 signups, HipChat is going to extend their 30 days free to 90 days free. So check it out now. You have nothing to lose. Remember, that's hipchat.com/allaboutandroid. HipChat, your team, your project in sync instantly. And we thank HipChat for their continued support of All About Android and the Twit Network. All right. Hey, there's some big app news. Let's take a look.
Is it actually news about a physically large app? Big app news.
Oh, man, this app is so... Have you seen the code on this app?
The code base on this app is crazy. Yeah. Anyway,
it's not about the size of the code base.
Yeah.
Come on.
That's what they say.
All right. But it could be a very large code base. As one of the great things about Google is that when they want to have developers start adopting things, whatever, they do it themselves, which is something I respect about. We were talking about that game, and we're like, why did Google do this? Then we found out the reasons why they did that, and to show off the multi-touch or the multi-devices on the Nexus player. Well, so Google's aiming to get developers on the same page with creating apps that work across different types of Android environments now: phones, tablets, auto, Wear, Cast. Everything under the Android umbrella, and they've released a reference app called Universal Music Player that does this well, though you won't find it on Play, rather on GitHub, which is a code repository that developers use. That gives developers access to the source code so they can pick it apart, implement those lessons in their own experiences. The app uses a single code base, yet supports all different form factors seamlessly. So here's a great example of Google saying, hey, look, we've got phones, we got tablets, we got watches, we got TVs, we got cars.
We got watches, we got phones, we got what you want.
Come on over
What
here.
you want your app running on? We got it all, yeah.
But here is a best case scenario of an app that works across all of them. Now learn from it and giving it to, in an open source kind of just putting it out there in GitHub. It's very public. We could go download it right now if we wanted to and take a look at it. That's pretty cool.
Let's do that. No,
Yeah, well, there you go.
Let's implement right now.
yes, that's right.
That's pretty cool, though.
Yeah, that is cool. That's very cool.
I think
Lead by example. Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Google's really stepped up in the past couple of years. I think it started with Ice Cream Sandwich, but really kind of realized that in order to kind of get everybody on the same page, they have to spell things out. It was
Yeah.
For the longest time, in many ways, and we've even talked about a few of these ways on the show today, it's been kind of Wild West territory when it comes to developing for Android. Now we're seeing it kind of become this more kind of molded product by their examples and by the rules and stuff like that. And I do think that some people kind of feel like that's maybe unnecessary or restricting, but personally, I think it makes things a little more mature.
Well, yeah, they have a vision.
Yeah.
They have a vision, and the vision is they can't do everything on their own. It requires developers to kind of be on the same page.
Yep.
And especially now that they're extending beyond a single device, when you've got all these different kind of touch points. Whenever I get an app, the thing I immediately look for is how does it look on my phone and my tablet? Like, the days of creating an app just for one type of device are kind of over. I mean, Michael, you're kind of more in the weeds on this stuff.
I think the use case is a little more on the side of like, hey, I have a very simple app with a list or something like that, and it will scale to a watch and a phone and a tablet and a TV, and they're. For what we make, it doesn't work like that. Things have to be tweaked, and certainly for a watch form factor. But I think for, something like a music player or something else with a simple function, maybe a note-taking app or something like that, it could potentially scale more easily with a single code base. I don't know. It might be pie in the sky a little bit to expect mass adoption of like building one code base and then deploying on all 4 Android parts, because they're just business decisions you have to make where it's like, who's going to actually use this thing on a smartwatch? Is this appropriate for it?
Right.
But and in our case,
you can doesn't mean you should.
Exactly. Yeah. And do we have the engineering resources and hours to actually implement this stuff? But I think for some people in some apps, it's going to be great that they're showing the way here and saying, oh yeah, I guess it won't take us several weeks of development. We can actually just build this from the beginning and then have it scale, and that's good. Yeah.
Yes, agreed. In other app news, YouTube actually pushed out an update to the app and to the service in general. Basically, they're supporting 360-degree video now. That's
pretty cool.
Not necessarily cardboard support, although that would be really cool. Could you imagine if people were able to upload their 3D video?
Should support cardboard though, right?
I have to imagine at some point.
Yeah.
Right?
So it's kind of like Photosphere, right? But Photosphere for your video, you can do it with your mouse through the app that I have running here. Let's see here.
It's kind of weird.
So I'll go ahead and play this video, and again, it's going to be hard. But
that's cool.
Yeah, I know.
Cool.
You can't really see. I'm trying to angle it so you can see a little bit. But there's actual content. Let me try.
But so
Oh, this is a 3D video.
Yeah, so it's a 3D video. Hard to see it, I realize.
Computer generated.
But you kind of get the idea. Like there's stuff moving, and I can rotate all around. And okay, this is distracting.
Yeah, I was just say, wow.
Okay.
That is
So anyways, kind of interesting. It really makes me want full like 3D cardboard support at some point.
Yeah. So it's got a timeline. It's got 0 seconds to 3 minutes or whatever, but it's also 360 degrees. That's just crazy.
But if you didn't want
to
to look like an idiot and tilt your phone all around, is there a way for you to pan with your finger?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Actually, that might have been the better way to show it. I didn't think about that.
Okay.
There we go.
There it is.
You and your practical advice.
I didn't know. That's cool.
Now it's buffering. There we go. So, come on.
Unless I'm wearing cardboard, I'm not going to be like moving my phone around.
There
like
it
that.
is. Yeah.
There it is.
So yeah.
So now they've introduced the support, and this goes along with YouTube just supporting it in general. So the app supports it, YouTube supports it, and you can upload your own 360 videos. Although that takes one of those 360 camera rigs. I mean, how do you take 360 video?
I have no idea.
Isn't it one of those circular things?
I know Samsung talked about something, but that's all I know about.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Sure.
Man, we're really going to be in a virtual world, aren't we? This is like, it's all going there whether we want to or not.
Yeah.
Snow crash is happening.
Do you guys have a VR story queued up, or is this
No,
it?
we don't.
Okay.
We didn't think that.
Because there's so cardboard seems like it's the low end, the lowest point of entry, right, and the least
accessible
immersive.
to everyone.
Yeah.
And then there's the HTC thing on the other side, right, where you have like the things and you need a room.
Yeah, but the cables,
mounted cameras everywhere. And I don't know. I mean, I would love to have a room like that if I had an extra room just for VR. But I think cardboard is more practical for more people at the moment.
It's definitely VR for the masses.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now YouTube is even more masses.
Yeah.
So it's strange. Well, speaking of the masses were very excited for a moment, and then kind of groaned the next moment when it was announced that Nintendo was going to finally make the jump into mobile gaming. This is the kind of thing. This is the kind of thing where it's like, really, Nintendo hasn't been doing, but they haven't been doing mobile games. You can't play Mario Brothers or anything like that on your phone. It's all been on their consoles. So they're teaming up with a company called DNA.
Yep.
Yeah. Capital D, lowercase e, capital A, N, capital A, DNA, to bring Nintendo characters to smartphones. No word if it's going to be iOS or Android or both. But going back to why the groan was there, if you're familiar with mobile gaming, you're familiar with DNA, they're the folks who are behind an insane list of free-to-play games on both platforms, on iOS and Android. And so we're probably assuming that it's going to follow that formula, but with Nintendo's licensed characters. So if you're not a fan of DNA's games, you might not be super happy. If
Or
you're
just
super
free to play in general. Yeah.
If you're a Super Nintendo purist and you want like the true Nintendo kind of thing, these are probably just licensed games, and they're going to be like, Yoshi's Stack. And it will just,
Yoshi Match 3.
Right, yeah.
Yoshiville.
Yeah.
Yoshi Bubble Popper.
But you got to hope Nintendo's involved on some level in the creative, right?
I don't get this strategy. I mean, they have the best game dev house in the world. They make some of the best games. Why don't they just do it themselves? Why didn't they like 5 years ago? I don't understand it. I'm happy it's happening in one form or another.
Yeah, it is interesting. Why aren't they taking a mobile? Like, I think it makes perfect sense for Nintendo to get into the developing 100%. Games for smartphones and stuff like that. I've been wondering why they haven't done that for years.
And they make
it just makes sense. They make fantastic games. Why partner and potentially lose the magic there?
But they are a pretty old
like a
school
half
company. They're very slow to like get with the times. They want to just do their own thing.
Sure.
Yeah.
And sometimes it works out. Like with the Wii, right? At least initially, and sometimes it doesn't. Like with the Wii U.
Well, the Wii U. But that said, though, I mean, like I got my sister's family got the Wii U for Christmas for the kids and to do the Disney Infinity and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun playing that console, like Mario, like and because it goes back to the game. Mario Kart is a great game, period.
Yeah.
Like, why not just do Mario Kart on tablets or on phones? And like, you've got it all there. To your point.
Yeah.
My only guess is that the idea of like, let's go to a proven kind of a partner
they know
who knows.
freemium.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But you got to hope that Nintendo's involved more than just like, hey, here's our characters, go have fun with it.
And if your DNA, like champagne is just popping all over the place for days on end.
Heck yeah, because pretty much all they have to do is just do what they've done, plop a couple
throw
of
Mario
Nintendo
in it.
characters in there, and it's going to sell probably better than any of their games.
Yep.
And if we know anything right now, it's that the money is in free-to-play right now in the mobile space. It's insane how much money these... Yes, you know all about this.
We're trying to crack the code without griefing users, though. That's the difference.
That is
the challenge.
That is a
Yeah.
huge
Those
challenge.
pressure buy things. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yep.
But they work. They're diabolical.
That's the upside for the people that create them, the downside for players, but then people don't seem to care.
Yeah.
They're happy to spend the money. It's this weird kind of conflicted world we're in right now with gaming.
I know.
On one hand, you hate it, but on the other hand, people are happy. They're paying it.
Yep.
They're paying the money. That's
They're
why
paying the money to
people
finish
aren't
the
getting
Candy
rich for
Crush
nothing.
game. Yeah. No, it's true.
So it's so weird.
That's why I take a lot of pride in my playing Two Dots. I'm on level 180 something, and I've really only bought the dollar power up maybe 5 or 6 times.
So you've spent $6.
Yes,
Well,
but
then
over
they won.
180.
Yeah, they won.
Yeah,
They won, though.
But not like crazy. Like
Yeah,
I'll keep playing and playing and playing and playing and playing to avoid. It's only when I'm just like completely frustrated will I actually break down.
But that's enough.
Yeah.
So, like, is there a point? I'm just curious for my own research. Is there a point at which you guys would enjoy a game so much you would almost like feel bad and want to purchase one of these things?
Well, that's the thing too, is that like I didn't have that much guilt in purchasing that because it got me to where I needed to be.
Yeah.
I didn't have to buy like 5 in a row to get to it. Like I bought one and then I finished the level, and I'm enjoying the game.
Yeah.
Like it kind of goes back to like,
and that's a hard thing to quantify. That part right there.
Yeah,
that's the
exactly.
part.
Just create a game that people enjoy. That's all you have to do.
That's right. Yeah.
No big deal.
No, but if I'm getting the value from the game, I'm getting the enjoyment out of it, then I have less of a problem.
Exactly.
It.
Totally. Exactly.
Yeah.
I agree.
The trick is to get you want to pull them in deep enough.
Yes.
Just deep enough so that it's almost like a zip tie. You want to get it to the point where you can't pull it back out. And that's a balance, because you want to have enough of a gameplay to get a feel for it, to get engaged.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
it's all about the grind, right? So with our games, we're working on having there be a grind, right? Which means that in the beginning, it's all virtual in-app currency. So you beat a level and you get gold coins, and then you use those gold coins to get a key, which unlocks the next level, right? And eventually levels start to cost more and more keys, and levels are also more difficult to beat. So you have to go back and replay some of the levels, get more gold coins, or you can get free gold coins for sharing with your friends, or you can get free gold coins for watching an ad, or you can buy gold coins. And eventually there's a point of diminishing returns where people will be like, I've played this a lot, and I really love the gameplay, and I need some coins. Okay, fine, I'll get a small coin.
Yeah, as long as it doesn't feel like you're being cheated out.
Yeah, you need the ability to get gold coins by not doing anything.
Right. And actually, I will say one thing that I don't mind, and I'm sure a lot of people do mind, but I don't mind when I'm given the option to actually watch an ad. And I realize that's kind of a mind screw there. But if I hit a wall and I actually like the game enough, I'm fine. I'll watch a 20-second ad if it means it gives me something extra.
Yep.
Would I prefer not to do that and just play the game and have a good time? Absolutely.
Sure. I would prefer for everything to be free in life.
Yeah. Well, so since we're on this topic, Crossy Road.
Yeah.
How as a game developer, kind of producing some games that are kind of treading into these waters. How did you feel about Crossy Road's kind of approach on in-app purchases?
And we may or may not, by the way, have a fantasy hopper quest coming out later this year. I'm not even kidding you, but it's going to be like 16-bit RPG style. Anyway, Crossy Road. I love Crossy Road. I love their in-app monetization style. I think it's great because it's just addicting and fun and
that was like gameplay first.
Yes,
gameplay 100%. Most important thing whatsoever. You could play it forever and ever and still have a great. And not only could you play it forever and ever and never drop a dime, but you'd still be having a great time playing it.
Yeah.
But then somehow it's kind of appealing to get that extra character, and you know that it's worthless. You know that it's so pointless. But you're okay because it's 99 cents, and I really want that specific character, and that just makes me happy. I like that. It's the thing that really gets me on some of these games is when you play it, it looks like a fantastic game, and 5 minutes in, you're realizing, those hearts that actually, there's a limited amount of those hearts, and when they go away, I either have to wait until tomorrow to play or blah, blah, blah. Then it becomes like a job, and
that's right.
I just want to play a game.
I hate when they front load the experience with like a bunch of menus, and they won't let you move on until you click a certain way. So it's like, go to the store, click right here. Touch this thing, buy this thing. Now you need to buy that. Now you need to combine these two. Now you need to apply.
I played
let me play the game.
I played some game that did that, and I was like, oh, done. Like I didn't even make it through the tutorial. I was like, nope, not at all. Like just let me in and let me play. By
the way, somebody in the chat room said that Crossy Road was just a Frogger ripoff. Come on, it's not at all the same. It's got an isometric view. I mean, come on, right?
They all it's true. I mean, I think that's the overarching point here.
There are no new ideas. Everything's iterative. Right?
Exactly. All right.
We want to thank our last sponsor for sponsoring this episode of All About Android. We want to thank Squarespace, the fine folks at squarespace.com. With Squarespace, it's easy for you to create a professional website, blog, or online store. Squarespace features an elegant interface, beautiful templates, and incredible 24/7 customer support. When a friend or coworker comes to me and they need to make a website, they say, hey, Ron, computers, what should I do? I say, go to squarespace.com. It's going to be your best option to get a website up and have it look great at the same time. Here's why you're going to love Squarespace. It's simple, powerful, and beautiful. Making changes is clearer and simpler than ever. It's incredibly easy to use, and if you need some help, and everybody needs some help sometimes, Squarespace has got a great live chat and email support 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They're always there to help you, to get you out of whatever jam you're in, or just to help you along, to help you make the best website you can. Squarespace starts at just $8 a month, and they take care of hosting so you don't have to, which, trust me, that's worth it in and of its own. If you've ever dealt with hosting, if you don't know what you're doing, it can be a real pain in the butt. Go with them. They're professionals. They know what they're doing. Your website will always be up for just $8 a month. It's a beautiful thing. Plus, you get a free domain name if you buy Squarespace for a year. All Squarespace websites are responsive and scaled to look great on any device. So whether it's on your phone, tablet, or computer, your website will look awesome. They've got e-commerce options available, and every website comes with a free online store. They've just rolled out this awesome new feature called Cover Pages, which lets you set up a beautiful one-page online presence in minutes. It's perfect for creating quick landing pages for your brand, personal identity, or to promote a new product. If you've got a message you want to get out there and you don't want to get caught up in making a huge website for this single thing, throw up a cover page, boom, you're done and ready for business. So start a trial with Squarespace with no credit card required and start building your website today. When you sign up for Squarespace, make sure to use the offer code AboutAndroid to get 10% off your first purchase. We thank Squarespace for their support of All About Android. Squarespace, build it beautiful.
Squarespace makes creating a website like almost turns it into a game of sorts. Like it's fun through their interface. And I've made a lot of websites, even though I was never qualified to, through tools like Dreamweaver back in the day. And I always had thought I had great ideas, but when it came to executing them, I couldn't do it. And that's the beauty of Squarespace.
Well, and
it's just like, this looks great. Tweak it a little bit. Whoa, that's way better than I ever could have done.
And what's great is if you know HTML and CSS, you can still do it. They've got their editors are some of the best editors I've ever worked with. As somebody who likes to get into the code, but not enough to get in trouble. It's the right balance of intuitive plus also easy to use, and at the end of the day, give you a great result. So
Totally.
Squarespace. It'll take you to the pot of gold. Sorry, I had
You had to get the Irish voice into one ad
I'm
read.
sorry, I know it's bad.
No, it's good. I'm happy you did it. Excellent. All right. Hey, it's about that time. Let's jump into the arena. Let's do it.
So many enter, but only one live. Android Arena.
All right.
All right.
All right. No,
Yes, exactly.
So, see, I can't even do it. I can't even say all right in Irish accent. Last week, we had 4 apps in the arena, and yes! Snappy wins with 40%, even though I heard from a lot of people it doesn't work with a lot of devices.
I think a lot of people
limited device compatibility.
People voted for the concept, maybe not for their ease of use of it.
I have to imagine Snappy's going to eventually build compatibility into more devices than it's capable of supporting right now. Kind of a bummer. I didn't realize that when I brought it in, but regardless, cool idea, and it worked really well for me. So there you go.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Yes.
You're in the lead.
Boo! Officially?
Yeah, it's 5.
Oh,
It's 5-2 to 3.
Dang!
There you go. Yep.
Golf club time.
Thank you very much.
Hey Brian, what happened to the corgi voting contingent?
Their paws weren't long enough to hit the mouse click.
That is a problem.
I ended up in
Corgis
second place at 22% of the vote.
Yeah. Video live wallpaper, 3rd place at 21%, and Bounce.
And let me tell you, you take out Snappy, it was neck and neck across the corgi video live wallpaper and Bounce for the majority of the week. I was watching, I was keeping an eye on it. It was close. So, yeah.
All right. Well,
They're great dogs, but they're not very good at computers.
That corgi.
Maybe next time.
It's an old computer, too.
yeah,
That doesn't help.
Dang you, corgi.
Corgis don't have access to the latest and greatest technology. It's just known fact.
People are
about
corgiest.
Yes, Corgist.
Corgist.
All right, so
that means I go?
Go first with your fancy case.
Oh yeah, well first I finally got my case. If you've been following along on the pre-show, I've been complaining about my Nexus 9. I hated the little origami case or whatever. And I wanted a Dodo case, which is they make the little book kind of thing. And Dodo case doesn't support the Nexus 9 because they're Apple fanboys. But I found a great company. I'm going to give them a free ad now. I'm sorry. But a great company called Portenzo that made this kind of Moleskine-esque kind of book-like case for me. It's got a magnet. So the
Moleskine. So it is Moleskine, not Moleskine.
I say Moleskine. Yeah.
Okay, I just never knew.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't.
But
I'm actually confused now. I always thought Moleskine. But anyway.
Moleskine. Anyway, whatever. But anyway, yeah, so super cool case for a new Nexus 9. That's not my app, though. My app, and I've got props for my apps. If you're like me and you keep...
Is this you?
You keep breaking phones and you get different tablets, you probably end up with a drawer full of these power adapters that you can use to charge, and when you're going on a trip, you just grab one out of the drawer and whatever. But have you guys noticed that this one's an Asus one? I think this is for my Nexus 7. This one's an LG one. It's for my many Nexus 5s. I've got another one down there that's just branded Google that I've actually got plugged into the floor. Have you ever noticed that some adapters and cables charge faster than others?
Yes.
Right, I'm not crazy, right?
No,
that's a thing. Okay, but you can never quantify, prove it.
Well, it depends on the device and right?
They're all different variables, and that's the thing. But now, with this
now
app
you can.
now you can, a wonderful app called Ampere, or Ampere, right here. And I put it on my tablet so you all can see it, as opposed to the phone. Basically what it is it is a battery measurement app that it's free in the Google Play Store. It's powered. It's got a little ad down here at the bottom. You can see the little ad, whatever.
Hey, Bills.
But what happens when you pull it up,
Me too.
when it's not plugged in, it's telling you at what milliamp speed your device is discharging. So right now I'm losing 740 milliamps, as it's checking. It also gives you a little bit of information. It tells you the status as it's discharging. I'm on battery. I've got 57%. Health of the battery is good, what kind of battery it is, the voltage, what device you've got, a Nexus 9, what Android version, all that sort of stuff. So this tells you what it is when it's unplugged. Now, I have a cable here, so I can plug this sucker in. You can look at my head. All right, so now I am going to, we have a cable, it's plugged in down there. I'm going to plug it into the device. All right.
Oh, that's not reversible? Like USB Type-C?
Yeah. And so now,
it's not USB Type-C.
And so now, yeah, no. So now it is, I'm charging.
Measuring.
And so now the measuring, you notice the little dotted lines went in the opposite direction. And it tells me that I'm charging. I'm plugged into the AC charger. And after about 10 seconds or so, it will tell me the level at which it is charging. And what you want to do is you want to leave it plugged in for a couple of minutes or so to get kind of an average, and you see it kind of build up. But I was looking across these 3 connectors that I've got plugged in, and I saw everything varying from about 300 milliamps all the way up to 800 milliamps. And of course, a higher milliamp read gives you a faster charge, and the device will charge up that much faster. So if you're truly looking to get through all of your various adapters and cables and things like that, this is a way to test them and find out.
You know what would be awesome, and I don't know if the app does this. Can it do a push notification that will just notify you when it knows how it's charging, so that you don't have to like be in the app and?
No, that's the one thing that at least from what I saw, you just keep it plugged in. Yeah, exactly.
Other stuff and then come back to it. Okay.
So yeah, so that's all it does. Ampere, it just measures your battery discharge or AC adapter charge and gives you some actual raw data to figure out which ones you need to throw away and which ones you need to keep and which ones, because for me, when I'm on the road, I want the charger and the cable that will charge my device fastest.
Yeah, for sure.
And there's nothing worse than when you plug something in and you're like, oh, this seems like it's charging slowly.
You leave it there for like 5 hours and you come back and your battery's at 7%.
I have to say the fast charger for the Samsung Galaxy Note 4 is the greatest thing ever. And it also tells you when you have a fast charger plugged in, which is nice. But it's very binary. It's just like, it'll only say if you do have one.
That's one bonus about getting my Nexus 6 replaced is I got another fast charger.
Nice. So
now I have one for work and one for home. Excellent.
That's cool.
So I'm excited when I get my next Nexus 5, I'll get another one of these.
Yeah.
And the thing is that, and this kind of gets more a little, but it's definitely a combination of your this little device, what kind of which cable you've got in there, because some cables are I've found some cheap USB cables that aren't very good, and plus also you can affect your battery charging, whether you have got Wi-Fi turned on or Wi-Fi turned off, your screen brightness. There are all these different variables, so it's not going to be just a single, oh, this one charges faster all the time. It's any kind of combination.
Johnny Walker in chat says premium app of Ampere does give you notifications.
Oh, good.
Yeah, there's an app purchase to unlock the Pro version.
There you go.
So there you go.
Cool.
So thank you, Johnny.
Boom, notifications.
For the assist.
S6 or M9? M9. Or no, S6, sorry. This guy keeps asking that question. Which one?
Bleak.
Bleak's got a lot of questions.
Yes.
We love Bleak.
We love Bleak.
And Bleak is a known. Okay, known quantity.
All right, so Ampere.
All right, so that is Ampere or Ampere.
Yep.
Something like Ampere. There you go. Check it out. Okay, so Michael.
Yes.
We've heard you talk a little bit about this game
Yes.
that I believe you have a hand in.
I may have
show it
a
off.
hand
What
in
you
it.
got?
Okay, so this is a free game that's available on iOS and Android. We launched it in the beginning of January. It's called Fantasy Bubble Quest. You can search for it in Google Play. There's a QR code there on the screen, which is awesome. Yeah, let me just fix myself here. So this is the game. Let me see if I can grab sound. Plug this in here.
Right, I forgot about the audio plug there.
So basically, it's a simple bubble popper style game. You get into a level and you match 3 bubbles, and they disappear. Yay! And you get that nice little sound that lets you know you're earning money. You're earning gold coins. I just earned a lot. And there's a universal bubble. It's pretty simple gameplay, but it's very, very addictive. In the beginning, oh my gosh, what did I just do? We serve users a lot of levels that make them feel like superheroes, and then the difficulty ramps up. We don't overwhelm people with a bunch of like unicorns and candies. It's fantasy themed like all our games. We're planning on making a ton of casual, family-friendly, really awesome, addictive fantasy games with good gameplay that have a really nice progression. And of course, there's a metagame where you can get gold coins, and when you get gold coins, use them to buy keys, and keys let you unlock levels. I have maxed out this game, so I have unlocked every single level, which is...
Are you sure you didn't just use the cheat code?
There's no... Well, there's kind of a cheat code. Okay, so I kind of did give myself a bunch of extra coins at some point. Just
I mean, when you're the developer of a game, can't you just do that?
Yeah, you can.
I just assumed that
Thank
anyways.
you.
You can put on God mode and...
Yes. I mean, I don't have a God mode built in, which I should think about for the next version. But it's going to be updated soon. Please check it out. It's free to play. We are actually releasing a whole series of games under the Fantasy Blank Quest theme, which means that they're going to be casual, mobile. They're going to do freemium right without griefing our customers. The grind, like you were talking about, is going to be very important with them. We actually have a pretty good rating on Google Play and on iOS. We have found that it's monetizing pretty darn well for a self-published title that's new IP, meaning no one's ever seen these characters or this art style. It's not licensed, and we're a brand new company. And given all that, it's going pretty well. So we'd love your guys' support, and stay tuned for games. We're going to be bringing out quite a few, actually 6 more this year in the next, hopefully 6 months.
Do you mind if I ask how many people you have on your team?
So we've got locally in California 5, and then we've got a couple of outsourced teams, 1 person in China, and then a team in India, and we're looking at a team in Russia as well. But we're looking to hire more locally. We actually recently got accepted into an accelerator called F50, and we've got a soft commit from a few different venture firms to help us get our seed round done. And the first thing I'm going to do is hire a few more people in-house, get a more permanent office, and kind of, do it up right. So we're going to be
awesome.
Very excited.
So the app economy just kind of blows my mind. It's crazy, and so possible to make a good living off of it.
I hope you're right about that. I mean, we have a lot of people with a lot of industry experience in the mobile app ecosystem. We have a really strong.
You have a lot of people that you're working with. That's really impressive.
Yeah, there's some people that really believe in it, including myself. And we think we have a really...
You should believe in it.
I hope
it's
I
named
believe
after you. I mean...
We think we have a good strategy for doing free-to-play games that don't piss off our own customers. Because at the end of the day, we're a small company, and we need people to become advocates. And one way to not do that is to just grief them all the time and be like, oh, wait, you need 1 more bubble to finish this level, and if you don't get it, you're going to lose all your progress. We probably make a lot more money doing that in the short term.
A lot of people do,
But then people will go elsewhere when the next hot game comes out. And we want people to be like, oh, I want to play the Fantasy Blank Quest series of games because they're always fun. You know?
Cool. Oh, absolutely. Excellent. That is Fantasy Bubble Quest, and stay tuned for more games.
You can also vote for it in this if you would like.
Sure. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
Games do well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm bringing in an app that. Do you remember back in the days of lore when you could create
Days of lore
when you could create shortcuts on Android?
Yeah, I actually had something I wanted to create a shortcut for, and I couldn't.
Yeah, it's not quite so apparent or possible in Lollipop, at least. I don't know when it started to go away, but anyways, Quick Shortcut Maker, all one word, is a way that you can do that now. So you can do, just basic activities. So as you can see on my desktop, I've created a compose shortcut that takes me right to Office Assistant in Gmail. I've created a tether shortcut that takes me right to my tether settings, because sometimes you don't have an app to do it. You can probably find and install an app. But point being, this works, within apps that you have installed, for things that are surfaced from that app as being actions that can be triggered here. So, I mean, if I pull up Google Plus, you get just a ton of actions inside Google Plus that you can create a direct link to, within Photos or composing or, camera, like the importing. And a lot of these, like when I'm looking through it personally, I'm like, I don't know why I would ever need to do that particular action, but that's kind of what this is all about, right? Like there have been times where I'm like, God, why do I always have to go these 5 steps to get into this menu of this particular app? And it's the thing that I do all the time. Why can't I just jump right to it? This is how you can do it. You can create a shortcut inside any of the apps running. And as well as kind of system level stuff, like I showed you, taking you to the settings of Tether. And you can add favorites, and there's a history. I obviously just kind of started playing around with it and everything. There's also kind of a keyword search here. So if I wanted to see if there's a keyword for create, there's something inside create. Beyond.
Is this stuff you cannot do? Does it just make it more, the actual system shortcut stuff more easy to access, or does it give you access to shortcuts that don't exist otherwise? Because
You can do it there thanks to Nova.
Is it because of Nova?
Yes, that's Nova.
Oh, okay.
So some launchers will do this, and Nova is one of them that will give you access to shortcuts because Nova is like the everything under the moon launcher for sure, and it gives you access to shortcuts. I can see it right there. This is
What's interesting with Lollipop is that you can if you tap that and then do widgets, you can go to the S's. They do have settings shortcuts because I have a shortcut.
For my hotspot.
Yeah, I have a shortcut. For my tethering, but like you can't. But it's only for settings, which is weird. It's not. It's like limited to just that section. So
yeah.
Mm-hmm. But being able to have a shortcut to go to compose a message in Gmail is good. That's great.
Yeah.
So cool.
So there you go. Kind of a cool little way to enhance your desktop and cut a little bit of the steps out of things that you might do regularly quickly. Quick Shortcut Maker. It's all one word. Quick Shortcut Maker, and that is free.
Awesome.
Nice.
All right. So I've already published the poll. Go to AAApoll.com/205. Let your voice be heard. Vote for your favorite app or game from this week. Is it Ampere, Fantasy Bubble Quest, or Quick Shortcut Maker? Place your vote. We'll check in on it next week and see where it lands. What I'm always...
100% Ampere.
This
Ampere, there you go.
One person.
Yeah, we check in on these, and it's usually like 5 or 6 votes, and they're wild. And then over the course of the week, they level out. It's always the same. So don't worry.
Okay.
Don't worry.
Okay. Still got a chance. So you're saying there's a
Yes,
chance.
Oh, there you go.
saying
See,
there's
there's
a chance.
Fantasy Bubble Quest. There you
Nice.
go.
Did you just do that?
No, it wasn't me.
Brian did.
It's neck and neck.
Nice. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Thanks, Brian. Cool. Well, Michael, always a pleasure having you on. I'm so stoked that we can include you into the rotation
I am
once again.
so stoked to be back. Thanks so much.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So, this is your chance to talk about whatever. I know you're working on other projects as well, right?
Yes. So one thing I did want to talk about, it's actually an announcement for the show that I was asked to make. There's a company called Nexmo that I am helping build a developer relations program for. And they are a cloud communications platform. So things like two-factor authentication, anytime you open an app and they send you a short code, how do they know what country you're in? How do they know that your carrier is not going to charge you money, et cetera, et cetera? They have a new product called Verify. Yeah, that's the website, nexmo.com. And they have a new product called Verify. And what I'm announcing today is that they will be releasing an Android SDK for it. And Verify is essentially putting the pieces of the Lego blocks that were already there together, in the sense that now there's one API call that you can make in order to make two-factor authentication happen on your phone, whereas before it was a combination of a few different products. And there are competing products out there where you have to combine them. So this is very simple. If you have an app and you want to verify that somebody is who they say they are, you can make a simple API call with Nexmo.
Very cool.
And on Android as well. Yeah.
Right on. Excellent. So that's Nexmo, Nexmo.
That's right. Nexmo.com. I know. Way too many crazy things going on here. I know.
Well, you got a lot going on. So cool. And then just for the stuff that you're creating on a personal level, would that be LuddenMedia.com?
LuddenMedia.com. That's right. Or FantasyBubbleQuest.com if you just want to go straight to get the app.
Right on. Excellent, Michael.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks for bringing in that very intriguing.
Yeah, here, look.
Oh
my gosh,
it's not supposed to do that.
It's bending. What's happening?
Okay. Ron, do you have a flexible phone with you?
No, I don't. My mind is blown by the flexible phone. The flexible phone, it defies the laws of physics.
Random question, though.
Yeah.
You said you're sticking with another Nexus 5. Have you thought about the G Flex 2? It's not flexible, but it's curved, right?
Yeah, no. I'm still on Nexus 5. I love this phone. It's my phone.
Fair enough.
And I figure if this is the last Nexus 5 I'm gonna get, I'm gonna, I'm gonna run with it. So,
Yeah. Nice.
Anyway, I love that Nexus
you can't
5.
let it go.
It was a great phone. Oh, anyway, all right. You can go to about.me/RonXO, where you can find all the links to my social media out there, and Google Plus and Twitter and Instagram, and ronxo.thinkup.com, where you can see all the insights to my social media world. You can see my best friend, J.A. Flanagan, and something weird going on with Gina. Gina, I don't know if she was messing with her account, but I saw that she started following me again, thanks to ThinkUp, and I'm like, she wasn't following me? And then I saw she dropped, and she's only following like 10 people. You're one of them, too. And I think she like wiped out her followers and is rebuilding them.
Yes.
So
she posted something on her blog about
I missed
that.
Yeah. So I feel honored that Gina, and I thought it was ironic, not ironic, but funny that ThinkUp showed me that Gina was following me.
Yeah, no, she's going through kind of a peel back, because I think at some point,
purge.
I'm sure I'm sure we've all been there one way or another, but on these social networks, you get to the point where you're following so many people that it becomes a distraction.
Oh, yeah. Totally.
More than it becomes useful.
Yeah.
And I think that from what her blog post said, that's kind of where she got. So she said, no hard feelings. I'm peeling it all back, and then I'm reintroducing slowly.
I'm happy I made the cut.
I want a tool to do that for me, or at least to
cool.
offer recommendations for me, because it's so much work on Facebook and on Twitter just to like follow back, peel back. Like I never check out my Twitter like feed. It's not useful to me at all. It's totally random and terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can be noisy, especially when I'm trying to like create a show. I'm like, okay, I need to get this.
Right?
You got to be okay to turn it. I mean, that's the thing.
The column moved.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, all right.
No, yeah. The moment,
I gotta do.
the moment in my personal life where I realized I didn't need to read every tweet in my in my timeline, I was like, or like every post on Facebook, every post, and it happened like it might have been like 3 years ago or so. So it's been a while, but
there was a point at which you did that.
Oh, there was a point where I didn't miss a thing.
It's incredible.
And, yeah, but now I miss things all the time, and I'm happy for it.
Yeah.
I knew you were going to do it. I knew it. As soon as the words came out of my mouth, I was like, he's going to do this.
Sorry. You know me too well, Rob.
I do.
Bryan, what about you, sir? What you got? Oh, you don't have a camera on you, do you?
I was expecting Ron to toss to his Image Comics.
Oh, I'm sorry. I missed it. Yeah, Image Comics. There you go. Bryan, what's up?
Well, if you don't mind me taking a wee bit of your time.
Oh, no.
Oh, my gosh. A for effort, though.
I had to give it a shot. It always turns into like Mrs. Doubtfire, though. But you can find me on the Twit Network doing a know-how show with Padre. We do that Thursdays. We're always cooking up something crazy. And you guys were talking about earlier about the 360 cameras. I actually reviewed one recently on BYB that was... It was a try. I didn't give it a buy, mostly because the video quality of it wasn't up to par. But the actual idea of being able to take a 360 image and then pan around is pretty cool. So
you took this? You did this?
Yeah, this is out the coast a little ways, not too far from here. So I'm pretty excited about these cameras coming out. I'm just hoping for ones that have better image quality at the moment.
Do you have the raw file so you can upload it to YouTube and then...
I'm gonna try that.
Yeah, you should.
On the YouTube blog page, they had a list of recommended cameras, and I'm still kind of researching how it will work. This camera that I reviewed, the VSN mobile camera, wasn't on the list, so I kind of have to tweak and figure that out.
Is that because it doesn't kind of go up and down? It doesn't seem like it has like vertical axis, right?
Right. So it's a 360 by 60 degree, and then it stacks the image on top of each other. And you have to use the VSN software to get the actual to have it stitch itself together. So this is like the raw footage, and then you have to edit it later if you want to put it in like Premiere or Final Cut and stuff like that.
That's the rub. Yeah.
Yeah. So
interesting.
They're gonna get there, but yeah, I do reviews on BYB. You can follow me at cranky_hippo, and that's about it. Back to you, Jason.
Right on. Find me at aboutnotme/Jason Howell. You can find my music at yellowgoldmusic.com. You can find my other Android show called Android App Arena at twit.tv/arena. And you can find Kosh Dutta on next week's episode.
Ooh, really?
It's all about Android.
Awesome.
You can find him there. He's there waiting in the future. That is it for this week. What a fun episode. Thank you guys, as always, for joining us. We mean it when we say we want to hear from you. AAA at twit.tv with your awesome questions or points about Android. You can also leave us a voicemail, 347-SHOW-AAA. We're on Twitter. We're at Android Show. We're on Reddit. We're twitaaa.reddit.com. This is information dump time. Show notes of past episodes at twit.tv/AAA. You can also find us on YouTube, iTunes. Not in 360 degrees yet, but soon.
I don't know if we want that.
You can catch us live every Tuesday starting 5 p.m. Pacific, live.twit.tv. That is it for this week. We'll see you next week on another episode of All About Android.